Carl and Damon here from Brrraains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sore, and it's they made what into a TV series? Castlevania Nocturne, Season 1, Episode 5, The Natural Order. Directed by Sam Dietz and Adam Dietz, written by Temio. There we go, different writer. Usual directors. We begin as Richter runs in terror until he gets to a lake, where he collapses to his knees and breaks down crying. Seeing his mother's killer is all too much for the boy, and I felt really sorry for him because that's a difficult thing for anyone to get past. And his tears, I imagine, aren't just because he was scared, but it's because of the simple fact that he can't get over it. How do you move on from something like that?
He's alone. He has no family.
Exactly that.
I mean, he's with those
as far
people.
as he knows, he's the last Belmont.
Yes, exactly.
Back at their home, Annette tends to Maria's arm wound as Tara makes a healing tea. Tara is concerned about the wound, but Annette is able to use some of her magic to stitch the wound, even though she's not great at it, but it shows she's got some healing powers too.
Really, really good animation to the way he did it.
At the island chateau, the Marquis's body is being burned in a vampire funeral of sorts. And don't say Castlevania isn't afraid to be funny in a very fucked up way sometimes. Because it appears as though the Marquis's wife is near inconsolable. Not just crying, but proper crying. But also has the Marquis's head in her arms. And according to Droll, who's talking to one of her lieutenants, she's planning to keep it. A vampire named Nikolai. And she's just like, I can't stand the crying. Can you just shut her up? And he's like, I'll tell the Marquis's wife that we'll take the Belmont's head and bring it to her. And it's like, it's kind of funny in a really fucked up way.
In a
later episode, yeah. They'll bring this back as well. But it's the way she's wailing with that head in her arms. And the way that Droll was just like, God.
I mean, they are literally, they're humans.
Well, they're characters. That's the fun thing, is Droll is a character. This Nikolai character is reminiscent of other vampire lieutenants. We know he's not going to be a major player, but he's given a name and he's given a bit more weight to him to make him important.
Yeah, of course.
Later that night, Maria is woken by Tara, who talks of her feelings of betrayal at the hands of the abbot and how safe the place once was. Hearing noises from below, they think Richter is back, but find Annette getting ready to leave, planning to go back and rescue Edouard because lessons have not been learned. Nope. The pair do everything to persuade her to wait for a plan and to wait for Richter, but his name being spoken angers Annette, who points out he ran away and ignores the others' defense of him. She ends up agreeing, look, I'm going to go out, but all I'm going to do is do some recon. I won't go. That's it. En route, she spies a carriage carrying Drolta on the bridge above. Following it, she sees Drolta meeting Ulrox as he's feeding on a nobleman in an alleyway. Important distinction there.
Yes.
Nobleman. She listens as they talk about Richter, with Drolta claiming, look, he's going to be taken off soon, but also tells Ulrox off for feeding on the upper class. Talking about an uneasy alliance as they walk around with humans. They have. And that they need to kind of not feed on the upper class because we need to keep them sweet. Yep. We need to feed them lower and all that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. And I always love that the show and the vampires do acknowledge that while they don't like it, they have no choice because they have massive weaknesses.
Yep.
And one of them is the sun.
Yep.
And that's what they also talk about here. And Drolta tries to press them about allying with them and allying with Elizabeth. So that hasn't clearly been established though.
No.
She explains that Elizabeth was promising change, big change. Drolta also reveals that she was once a priestess of Sekhmet. Sekhmet.
Yeah.
These names are actually quite hard.
Yeah.
Sekhmet. An Egyptian goddess of war and vengeance. She remembers power, and through Elizabeth, vampires can get it back. From there, the pair now finish their chat and go their separate ways. But Annette hears a scream, rushing out to help a child about to be fed upon a vampire. Now, there's a lot here to unpack. The Ulrox and Drolta talk is very long-winded. It doesn't really establish quite what's going to happen.
No.
But I really like the fact Drolta is old.
Yes.
She goes back far.
Yeah, because obviously she's referring to like Ra, the sun god.
Sun god, Ra, and stuff like that. She's from Egyptian times, but so's Ulrox. He's from the Mayan period.
Yeah,
so this conversation about power, they would have both had power once upon a time. More power than they have now. So you can kind of see where she's coming from.
Yes.
But I found it really, really compelling. But as good as that was, what's about to follow is outstanding.
Yep.
Annette attacks this vampire But when his vampire turns around, it's Val Blanc. It's Val Blanc. And they get into it. He quickly overpowers her, but he does talk too much. He's one of them. He is one of them, allowing it.
To kill her.
Yeah, but remember who he is to her and what he thinks of her.
Exactly.
And he knows exactly who she is. He allows Annette to use her magic and she gets back in a fight. And she has learned a lot from their previous dealings, particularly how to deal with vampires this time. And then creates a cage using her magic of metal crosses, which is spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, she brings it out and he's just immediately knocked back. But then they're douche, all around him. And then you realise, oh, they're all in the shape of a cross. That's a problem for a vampire.
Yep,
it's one of those vampire weaknesses that's just like, oh, you guys suck.
I know.
But it also shows what people like Annette, not Annette, what Maria doesn't acknowledge, because Annette doesn't really have a part to play in this.
No.
The power of the church is important to dealing with vampires.
Exactly.
Inside, he tries to get in her head, speaking of her nightmares and her mother. But then we see the sun is beginning to rise behind her. And he naturally begins to panic. And I did love it because fuck this dude.
Yep.
Fuck what he's done. Not just to Annette, but what he's done for decades.
Exactly.
Maybe centuries to people. He can't escape, and he rants and raves about his position and reveals that Elizabeth drank the blood of Sekhmet and now has the godly ability to block out the sun, allowing vampires to rule the earth. You're like, okay, so this is how she supposedly can do it. She might have the powers of Ra and elements of that. But guess what this really particularly sounds like? Cult.
Yeah, cult, yeah.
And it's like, here I clocked, oh, this is another slave aspect.
Yes.
But from a vampiric perspective, under the belief, similar to the belief in Christianity, similar to this, under the belief in Elizabeth of being as a god. It's just another fucking god.
I got that in the next episode.
Stronger, yeah.
Yeah, when we get to it, yeah.
The sun rises and it's game over for Blanc. And I was like, oh no, poor him. The sun devours the darkness, it always does, as Annette says. And I was like, great,
it's a great
line. Because that's what we're focusing heavily on in this show. Sun, as much as anything, the power of it. In town, Richter walks alone, deep in thought. He arrives at a square to find a revolutionary festival going on. And some young girl is asking him to join them in a flirtatious way from the older one.
Yeah.
Richter laughs and jokes around with them. But when he's offered an armband, a banner, so to speak, a headband, he kind of takes it and walks away, muttering to himself that maybe he's tired of fighting. Now, those of you who know video games know how important this piece of cloth is. And we would see later on when he'll put it on in a certain way. At the house, Maria's wound is looking better, but they get a visitor. And it's a visitor, did you expect?
Nope.
It's Emmanuel, the abbot, and he wants to talk. His appearance, of course, is not welcome because it's like, fuck you, dude. And the pair confront him for his alliance with Vampire. And he reveals that he is the Forge Master and an ally of Elizabeth. However, this comes out of his fear of the revolution and the destruction of the church and Christianity. He's still trying to justify his actions.
Pure madness, man.
He talks of the larger threat of violent atheism from the revolutionaries. And there, he actually makes sense. Because where did they draw the line?
He makes sense, but
they're beheading noble people and royalty. Who says they're going to stop at church leaders?
With vampires, man.
Yes,
they're going to wipe out. They could wipe out the entire world.
Which absolutely, but he's not seeing that unfortunately. But remember, the best characters, particularly from a villain perspective, are the ones that have truth to them, that have layers and make you go, huh?
Yeah,
this is him.
Yeah.
It definitely is. There is no convincing him though, and as things get more and more heated, he reveals that he has also sinned in the past. He's Maria's father. He really did look after Tara when she first arrived.
He did.
He kind of blurts it out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Obviously, Maria, far from happy to hear this, and leaves. It is all falling apart. As Richter is trying to get some food but doesn't have any money. But a long-haired and beady old man nearby ends up paying for it though.
I like it because it kind of gives homage like to the first time Trevor went into the pub and had no money and stuff like that.
It is that. Richter thanks him, but the old man is offish and Richter kind of bristles a bit about it. Before they can go any further, before anything more can be said, there's a vampire at the door. And it's demanded to know where the old man is. Apparently the vampire's looking for a fight, seemingly aware of the old man. Looking for the old man, saying, look, last time you said if you ever show my face here again, you'd kill me. Well, I'm here, and I want to see you kill me. Richter goes for his whip, but it's missing and can only watch on in shock, and all of us, because the slow motion sight of the old man just walking past them with the whip in hand makes you go, what the fuck?
Yep.
Now, we won't get revealed till after, but I'm going to tell you now. Say hello to Juiced Belmont, Richter's grandfather. And it's a brief fight. The vampire, well,
Oh, yeah.
he dies.
Yeah,
He's an idiot, absolutely. As all vampires do inevitably when they come up against a Belmont. Evan at the bar celebrates as Richter takes his whip back. Chasing after the old man, Richter demands to know who he is, and this is where the episode ends with revealing who he is. What?
What I loved about that fight, though, is the fact that it doesn't matter how old he is. He's a Belmont. Yeah.
Now, he's a bit of a different Belmont. We're going to get into that a little bit more. And really, I think more maybe set up the future. But for now, it's certainly interesting, exciting, and a lot of questions about where the fuck's he been.
Yep.
But we're going to get into that in the next episode. This was a good episode. Strong stuff. I love seeing Blanc get killed. I love the fact that we're kind of working our way through some of the lower caste vampires and some people getting some redemption early on to kind of set them on a different path for what we're going to have as well. Look, we got a big bad coming. We've got to deal with that big bad.
Yeah, definitely.
For now, this is episode 5, The Natural Order. You got any thoughts on what to do? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.